In this problem, we're going to be dividing complex numbers. This one is fairly easy in that the denominator doesn't have a real number part, it has just the imaginary part. So you can begin by multiplying the top and the bottom by that imaginary part. And in the next step here, you want to think of the numerator as a binomial. So we're going to be taking the 2i times the negative 3, which is negative 6i, and the 2i times the 4i, which is a positive 8i squared. Now there's the I squared that appears, and you have to remember that we're going to be replacing the I squared with its equivalent of negative 1 here in the next step. On the bottom we have 2i times 2i is 4i squared. There's that I squared again. So let's go ahead and make the replacement of the I squareds. Again, anytime you see an I squared, you're going to be replacing it with negative 1. So in my next step, I'll have negative 6i, and we have 8 times negative 1 is negative 8. Basically, the I squared just changes the sign of the number that's there. On the bottom, the same thing. We have 4 times negative 1. That's going to become negative 4. Now, in the next step, I like to split this up into the imaginary part and the real part. So we'll have negative 6i over the negative 4, and the minus I'll put in between, minus 8 over negative 4. We can reduce the negative 6 over 4 to 3/2. So we'll end up with, whoops, this should be a negative 4, shouldn't it? So negative 6 over negative 4 would be positive 3/2 I, and then negative 8 over negative 4 would end up being positive 2. Now normally when you write complex numbers, you put the real number part first, so I'm going to put the 2 first plus the 3/2 I. Notice the way that WAMAP wants us to enter these answers. They want the A, the real number part, in the first box, and the coefficient on the imaginary number part in the second box. So you would put 3/2. You could also enter 1.5 in there if you want to, or you can enter it as a fraction, 3/2.